Greetings, Carl Groves with Disability Consulting here. I want to talk to you now about how to qualify for benefits. So if you have paid into the system, if you've worked, you paid that FICA tax, that Social Security tax, that is for Title II benefits or SSDI. And it's very important to know that there's a window that Social Security gives you to apply and be approved for these kinds of benefits. That window is usually 5 years from the last day you worked. For example, if you last worked in 2020, that 5-year window usually will go to 2025. It'll never go more than 5 years, but it could go less than 5 years if your earnings are disrupted, if there's 1 year you didn't work, or your earnings are low. But you have to be found disabled in that window. It's called the date last insured, or the DLI, and it's crucial to your case. It's also crucial to you applying that you don't wait for a long time to apply. A lot of people will wait and say, well, I'm going to see if I get better, if I try to go back to work, and the time just slips away from them. And the next thing you know is they apply for disability benefits, and they have to prove that they were disabled in the past because they waited over 5 years. So make sure that you're aware of that 5-year window. And like I said, sometimes it could be 4 or even 3 if you don't have enough earnings, or you had a break in your earnings history. There's SSI benefits. SSI benefits, you don't have to have worked at all. A lot of younger people, people in their early 20s who haven't had a 5-year work history, would have to qualify for SSI. Children, we do children cases, and there is childhood disability, and those people there's no way they can qualify for SSDI because they couldn't have paid into the system, but they qualify for SSI benefits. However, unlike SSDI benefits, SSI benefits have some limitations. For example, if you have money on hand or property that you own, there are income and resource limits for SSI. If you have a bank account, if you have a life insurance policy that has cash value, if you have lots of vehicles, Social Security will exempt the first vehicle, and they'll exempt your home no matter how much they are worth. But if you had different property, separate property from your home, and it's worth several $1,000s, you're likely not going to qualify for SSI because the limits for resources and income are very, very low. Let's talk about the conditions. A lot of people get hung up on, well, I have this diagnosis, I have a bipolar disorder and therefore I should be found disabled. Or I have carpal tunnel syndrome, I can't use my hands the way that I used to, I should be found disabled. I've got degenerative disc disease in my lower back, and I've had 2 or 3 surgeries, I should be found disabled. Well, maybe, but that's not how the process works. We tell our clients over and over again that diagnoses will not win a disability case. It's your symptoms. So if you have bipolar disorder, it just doesn't mean anything. However, if you have a bipolar disorder and you can't concentrate for more than a few minutes at a time, and can't get along with other people without being very irritable, or you disturb them because your behavior is kind of bizarre, or you just withdraw, you just kind of stay to yourself. Well, those are all symptoms. Those are the things that will win your case. Carpal tunnel. Okay, well, you have carpal tunnel. What about gripping, grasping, holding things? Are you able to type on a keyboard for more than a couple minutes at a time? Are you able to scroll through your phone? Are you able to cook a simple meal? If you can't do these things, if your symptoms are so bad that you can't do those kinds of things, that's disabling. And that's what Social Security is all about. The lumbar, lower back problems. Okay, so you got degenerative disc disease and you've had 2 or 3 surgeries. Social Security, I'll be blunt, they don't care. But they do care, does it impact your ability to stand, walk, sit? Do you have pain? Do you have pain that shoots down into your legs? Those are all the symptoms, and that is what you want to talk to Social Security about. That is the way you want to present a case, your limitations. One of the big things in improving your case is having ongoing treatment. And you got to think about that. You can't go into Social Security office and say, well, I'm disabled because I have, a bipolar disorder, I have back problems, and you got to just believe me and, send me a check. It just doesn't work that way. You have to have medical records that prove, one, you have the problems, and two, that the problems are severe enough that they would keep you from working. And the way you do that is with treatment and ongoing treatment. I think one of the benefits of having a representative, what we do with our clients is we're cheerleaders and we remind you over and over and over again, hey, make sure that you get in to see your doctor. When you see your doctor, make sure that you tell them about all your problems, your symptoms. Tell your doctor how day-to-day life is. When that shows up in the medical records, that is what helps prove your case. So how to apply? Social Security prefers 90+% of the time that you apply online, and you can do it on a computer. You can have a rep do it for you. That's what we do most of the time. You can actually call a Social Security office and you can say, hey, I don't think I can do this on my own, or I don't have access to the internet, or I don't have a computer, and they can walk you through it or actually ask you to come in. But applying is not difficult. It's a long process, as we talked about, but to actually make the application, there's not a lot to it. All right, so let's talk about a scenario on why it's important to, one, have medical treatment, but also to show your symptoms. We talked about diagnoses won't win a disability case, but symptoms will. What's actually going on? How's your day-to-day life? So let me give you an example. There are two guys. They're both the same age. Let's say they're both in their mid-50s. They both had 3 back surgeries, laminectomies. And 3 months after the last laminectomy, one of the guys, he goes through physical therapy, and he's had a really good result. Medication's working for him, and he goes back to work. Obviously, he's not disabled. But the other guy, same thing, 3 months later, he's gone through physical therapy. He's taken high dosages of opioids, to get rid of the pain, and his pain is still at an excruciating level, zipping down his legs. He can't stand for more than 10 minutes at a time. He can't sit for more than 10 minutes at a time because low back problems. That's a double whammy. You can't sit or you can't stand for very long. And there's no way that he could make it through an 8-hour workday, much less a 40-hour work week. Well, what is it? The differences are the symptoms. One guy had a good result and his symptoms are minimal. The other guy, even with medication, even with physical therapy, his symptoms are horrible and he's not able to work. For a free case review, click on the link in the description or give us a call at 877-204-8159.